right, so here, 3-bet Queen Jack suited from the button against an under the gun open. I'm not sure I'm going to be doing this all the time. Let's actually check this out. This is an under the gun open. Okay, yeah. So it looks like an equilibrium. We'd be 3-betting this hand all the time, playing a 3-better fold strategy. So that seems fine. Under the gun open range is going to be pretty snug. And when he calls the 3-bet, I imagine he's sort of even more filtered. So maybe hands like, I mean, he's capped, right? Doesn't have aces or kings anymore, most likely. Maybe has some queens. It's probably discounted a bit. Probably has a lot of hands like ace, king, ace, queen. Just some Broadway cards. He should be filtering. He should be losing a bunch of those when he gets 3-bet, but never really know. Okay, this is a board that when check to, I am going to have a lot of bets on. I mean, my 3-bet range is doing quite well on this board still. Doesn't really connect with an under the gun open call range. And I don't think there's really, we are a little bit deep. I don't think there's really a reason to size up here. Although I think there could be an argument for like, no, I think a small size. You know, I'm not actually 100% sure on how to choose a sizing here in this 3-bet pot with this stack to pot ratio. Like, it seems like this would be a board where I'm just betting most of my range. And typically in those cases, I'm gonna be choosing a smaller size. But I have noticed that Pio prefers a larger size than some of the lower blanker disconnected boards. It's probably worth noting. My goodness, sorry. Under the gun probably has like a bunch of pocket pairs as well. So he potentially has like 6s and 9s here. I'm not sure I'm ever 3-betting 6s. So he might have more sets than I do on this board actually, which is interesting, something I haven't really thought about. But I do go ahead and go with a 1/3 pot bet. Okay, and I get raised. So what types of hands could he be raising me with here? Potentially hands like 7-8 suited with a backdoor. Really struggling to see, like, I mean, 10s maybe, obviously sets, 9s and 6s. I don't think he has 3s all that often, but maybe he has 3s as well. Not really any 2-pair combinations available. So maybe a hand like 10s or jacks would make sense. I think he should be 4-betting like queens, kings, and aces usually. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I do have an over and backdoor straight draw, 2 overs and a backdoor straight draw, but I do not have the backdoor flush draw. So I think I just have a lot better hands where I could be continuing with here. For instance, I have all the over pairs. I don't really think there's a reason for me to continue with this hand, although I do need to call 6 into like 20, 23. Yeah, so I hit like 25% pot entitlement. I mean, he's meant to be raising a ton of hands here, but just because he's meant to be raising a ton of hands doesn't mean that like I have to continue with some of my worst hands, and I think this is one of my worst hands. So I hope I just went ahead and let it go. Okay, and he has 8 and 9, so that's interesting. 8-9 off. So he just opened 8-9 off under the gun and then called a 3-bet. And then check raise 3-6-9. Okay, fair enough. Next hand. Okay, so from the cutoff, I open Jack-9 suited and get called from the small blind. And I flop 2 pair, bottom 2 pair. So this is, okay. He does have a shorter stack here. I was gonna say this is a hand where I would, when check 2, I would like to choose a larger sizing since I unblock top pair. And I do have, I do have a very strong hand. But against the stack size, like I don't necessarily know that I need to really go too large here. I do think I should be c-betting for sure. I don't want to let the pot stagnate. So, okay, so I do go for about a little less than a 2/3 pot size bet. Okay, and he just folds. Queen 3 suited. All right. Queen 7 suited from the cutoff is probably a little bit loose, but that's all right. All right. He checks it over to me. I think this board is definitely much better for the big blinds calling range than it is for my open range. So I should be betting pretty selectively on this board. Here I pick up a pair. So I pick up a pair. This seems like this would be like smack dab in the median of my range, essentially. Let me turn off my notifications. Okay. So I think maybe this hand plays better as a check. I am thinking here though that like I do benefit if I do benefit from getting hands like Queen Jack to fold, Ace X. Like I do benefit a lot by getting 2 overs to fold here, but I'm certainly not going to get 3 streets of value. And if I'm going to take a street off, I think maybe it's best to check behind here and then sort of get some visibility into maybe the strength of his hand on the turn. But as played, I do elect to go for a small bet. I don't hate it. I think this gets him to, like I said, it gets him to fold maybe 2 overs that have a bunch of equity against me. And yeah. Okay, and I do get check raised. So types of hands do I think he could be check raising me with? I mean, he should have a lot of check raises on this board, honestly, which is why I probably shouldn't have very many bets. Types of hands he'd be check raising me here with 9-10, diamonds, 7-8, maybe even like 8-9, 6-7. He has maybe some sets as well. Yeah, 5s. He has all the sets here. This board, he's just doing really well on this board, which is why maybe I dislike my c-bet here. Again, I think that like, yeah, I just don't think this is a hand I should be continuing with most of the time. I don't hate it necessarily. I do have some showdown value. Like I should be shedding all of my overcards that I'm trying to think of all the cards that or all the hands that I'm folding. I do have all the overpairs, which I would obviously be continuing with. This hand is really close. I think at this price, if like this 8 was a spade, I would be leaning a lot more towards calling, but I do like to call. Okay, four spades comes. So like if he was bluffing with like, or pseudo bluffing with a hand like 5-6, 7-6, maybe even 8-6 suited, like this is just this card in general is just a great card for his range, for especially for his check raise range on this board. So hopefully I just went ahead and let this one go. Yeah. Again, like he could still have diamonds. Potentially still has 9-10. It's just a great card for him to keep barreling on. Jack 9 of diamonds. Yes, we had a gutter ball, double gutter. Double gutter and a flush draw. Yeah, like he's a monster hand here. And I just don't even think I should be c-betting. Like I should just be. Well, okay, let's think about this, right? If he's raising hands like this, which it's not surprising that he is. If I check back the flop and the 4 rolls off and he leads the turn, am I calling a bet on the turn? What types of hands would I have checked behind with that are calling turn bets? Aces for sure, like that's a possibility. I'm not a huge fan of checking back aces in this pool. But you know, maybe on this board, like it is aces, there's a check back. Big blind's just doing really well on this board. So what hands am I checking back the flop and then calling the turn? Wonder if I have this in bio. Go ahead and throw it in there. 5 of diamonds, 8 of hearts, 5 of diamonds, 8 of hearts, 7 of diamonds, 5 of diamonds. The out of position player. Hundred BBs. But where's this cutoff? Cutoff. Shit, did I save that last one? Okay, I'm gonna pull this one off to the side and sort of see how that hand should be played. All right, this hand. All right, I open 5s from the hijack, get flatted on the button from a shorter stack and flatted out of the overcalled on the big by a deeper stack. Okay, this is a board where I'm going to be betting very selectively, especially against two opponents, especially out of position as well. So I expect to be checking this hand in particular on this board quite a bit. Okay, and button goes ahead and bets about third pot. No, just under half pot. 40% pot, something like that. Okay, that gets called. I think we're just letting this hand go at this point. But I'd be interested to see sort of all right, so I 3-bet ace check off. Seems fine. About my sizing here, just under 3x. When he 3x's, I think I can go a little bit smaller. That seems reasonable. I'm probably going to get called a little bit wider, which is fine. Okay, check 2 here. I flop a gut shot, and I do have the jack of spades, which is nice. So I'm blocking a good amount of his continues. I think this is slam dunk C bet here. I think betting about 1/3 pot. I really need to figure out my 3-bet sizing. My C bet sizing and 3-bet pots. Like my default is just bet 1/3 pot. Basically all the time. I mean, the reason I'm betting 1/3 pot is because the SPR is like right now it's, I guess, what, 5-1. So it's not that difficult to get stacks in, even with betting sort of smaller on the flop. So like, yeah, for instance, if he calls here, I'll have 43 back, and the pot will be about 15. So then that's 3-1. So then a pot size bet would make the pot. Yeah, so there's no reason to bet large here, really. With 100 BBs, like I think a third, like stacks are in play even for a 3rd pot size bet on the flop. Okay, and he just folds. Fives. Okay, here I elect to 3-bet ace-10 off out of the big blind. I think that's fine to mix that in every now and then. Definitely don't be doing that every time. Hand like ace-10 suited, I'm more likely just a flat. It's a little bit more playable. With ace-10 off, like prefer just to not see a flop mostly. Okay, so now I'm out of position here against button open call. So his range is still, I mean, his range is capped and it's still fairly wide. So I have all the overpairs here. He certainly has some overpairs. He probably has all the sets. I'm out of the big blind. I'm probably not 3-betting 7s, 5s, or 3s all that often. So like I maybe don't have any of the sets here. He definitely has like a lot of Broadway cards. Out of position here with 1 spade. Like this board's pretty. I want to say this board's pretty dry, right? Slow. Sure, it's two-tone. Two-tone doesn't help me much, especially since I don't have a club. And being out of position. I don't know, in a 3-bet pot, I feel like I'm just betting betting range here on this board. Which I'm not sure if that's how I should be playing it or not. Okay, I do bet 3 and then he calls. So what's he continuing with? Definitely club draws. Definitely, I mean, maybe like, definitely sets. I would expect to get raised. Well, I guess in position, like there's not really a reason for him to be raising. At this point, kind of just gobble up my bet and then just sort of wait to see what I do on the turn. Being in position is pretty huge. What else? What other kinds of hands could he be calling me with here, right? Like overcards, sure. Flush draw, sure. Pocket pairs, eights, nines, stats for sure. I don't know that he really has many straight draws on this board. Maybe like a hand like 6-8 suited, maybe. But overall, I think he's probably weighted towards flush draws and some one pair type hands. Okay, on the six of hearts, this is probably a card that's just better for his range, right? Like his continuation range. Like once he calls, what does he have? Like he could potentially have a hand like 7-6. 7-8 would maybe make some sense as well. I don't know if he ever has 8-9s. He probably has 8-9s on him as well. So yeah, I think overall this card is just better for his range than it is for mine. Like I might be checking some over pairs on this turn. I might be checking like almost my whole range on this turn, to be honest. Okay, and then he goes ahead and bets about a third pot when check to. So I need like 25-ish% equity, pot entitlement, and like obviously I just have ace high. Like I don't think I really have that, so probably let this one go. 8-9. Yeah, that makes sense. So here I try to isolate the limper, the short stack limper. I get called by another short stack out of the big blind. Can I flop a gut shot? And let's see, I have a heart and a diamond. Gut shot on a rainbow board with the heart and the diamond, sort of blocker to backdoor. Flush draws. With his stack size, it's not really a huge concern. All right, with his stack size, I think like I'm much more likely to just to get jammed on if I do c-bet here. So I'd like to avoid calling it off with this hand. So I'm hoping I just check behind. Although I do have some equity and like I do benefit from him folding. I think maybe it's just better to check behind and see if he checks me on the turn. Then I could maybe take a stab at it. As played, I do elect to go ahead. What is this bet accomplishing really? Like, am I ever getting him to fold a better hand? Sure, I'm getting him to fold like 3s, 2s through 9s, something like that. But other than that, like I have nut, no pair. He's probably never folding a queen. Definitely never folding an ace. I'm just getting jammed on probably with any of those hands. Yeah, I don't think I really like this bet here. And he does elect to raise, and he raises. He just min raised, right? He just clicks it back. So like my experience, this is like a very strong hand, especially when he has this stack size. So I go ahead and fold with my, I have at least 4 outs, right? So it's maybe an incorrect fold. But I mean, like I said, that's definitely super strong. Oh man, what a disaster it is for me to fold here. If I know he can do that with 5-6 off, then like I'm obviously never folding here. But again, like I think I just like checking back. Just checking back the flop, like it doesn't really, I don't think I gain much by betting. And I just open myself up to get exploited by like situations just like this. All right, small blind completes, and I elect to raise with king jack off, king queen off, and he calls. All right, this is a good board for us. I think we could actually have some larger sizes on this board in this spot, like 2/3 pot. I also don't mind just sort of range betting here in this spot. This board's great for us. Obviously, we have top pair, good kicker. Okay, we elect to bet small here, which is, I think that's fine, right? We maybe try to get called by like a 10x. 10x might be calling regardless, but. All right, ace of diamonds comes on the turn. He checks again. Let's see, we have the king, so we block king jack a little bit. Having the queen also kind of blocks king jack, and there's the queen and the 10 out there, which also. Does that make any sense? No. Yeah, so the king blocks king jack. That's the that makes sense. King blocks king jack. We don't have a diamond. The ace rolls off. We get checked to again. Let's see, what does betting accomplish? We can get value from Morse queens, maybe. I think maybe after betting, like, I think a 10x probably is folding here on this turn, unless it's something like 10x of diamonds. Then I could potentially see him continuing. So we are getting a little bit of value from hands like that, but we're also not that far ahead of 10x of diamonds here. We get called by a worse queen for sure. It's a little bit less likely because we have a queen. There's always potential that he floated the flop with ace high. I don't really see a ton of ace highs that he could have here, but there's always potential for that. Okay, so we do go ahead and check behind. I kind of like that, I think. All right, 4 spades on the turn, and he checks again. Now I think it's a clear value bet. When he check calls the flop, checks through the turn, and then checks the river. He seems super capped. So like, I have him on maybe like 10x. 10x certainly an option. Queen X is an option. Oh, where's Queen X? And then maybe like some sort of gut shot, like 8-9, something like that. So I think this is a slam dunk value bet. To him, we don't get a call, but I think I like the sizing even. 10 jack. Yeah, that makes sense. Here we have an ace queen suited, under the gun, 2 callers. Okay, this is a board that's great for our range, but this hand in particular doesn't love it, right? I think it's pretty clear check here. We don't really, like, betting doesn't really accomplish much. We might just be isolating ourselves against better hands. We might, I mean, sure, we might get called by, well, I guess there's obviously a decent amount of draws out as well, but I don't know. I think it's just right to, it just feels right to check. Kind of interesting that I can't really explain. Okay, that's a great card for us on the turn. Yeah, I just don't think betting is like a clear value bet here, right? We don't gain protection from betting. Flush draws are calling anyways, right? So you can't get protection if they're not folding. And then our hand is just super strong. but it's not nutted by any means, right? King X just has us pretty crushed. So yeah, that's why we're checking this flop. Then we hit a beautiful turn. Now I hope we size up a bit. Okay, that may be a bit too large. Although I suppose I don't hate it, right? We unblock King X, which I don't think cutoff's checking back King X ever. And then when big blind checks twice, like I don't think he really has a king either. So like unblocking King X is fine, but I just don't think they ever really have a king here. They could have some flush draws, which would be nice to charge their flush draws, but I think this is just too big for their flush draws to continue for the most part. And also, like, I suppose like one of them could have Queen X. It's pretty unlikely, but sure. I just think this hand is just a bit, or this sizing is just like a bit too aggressive, right? Like, I just think it's pretty hard for our opponents to continue here. But we do get called. All right, so what kind of hands are calling us? Maybe, especially after checking twice, maybe a hand like 10 Jack, 10 Jack of clubs for sure, maybe, but yeah, I might expect them. Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah. So 10 Jack, maybe King. I guess, yeah, like when I said that he's probably not checking a king twice, I forget that the queen came. So like he definitely have a king, like King X here, King Jack, King 10, or you could just have flush draws and just not really care how much I'm charging. Or you could have a hand like 10 Jack, something along those lines. Okay, king comes in and he checks. So once he checks here, I don't think he's checking a king, right? So now, like, I guess I'm just trying to get called by an ace high. I guess like he doesn't really have much ace high in his range either. Yeah, like 7x is worthless now. I don't really see. Wow, should I even be betting this spot? Like, what hand's calling me? Doesn't really matter if one. Yeah, I just don't think he's ever checking a king in this spot. Or he's just like really unlikely to be checking a king here. So I just check back. That's really interesting. Yeah, his flop call or his turn call makes sense. I just check back. Really interesting. It's probably pretty rare that I'm getting called by ace high, but I think I kind of like a quarter size pot bet here. That might be worth reviewing. Let's see how Pio's chugging along. Okay, stop it. All right, so how did I play this hand? Do I even have queen 7 suited in my open range? Barely. Shit. Well, I fucked that up. All right, well, I do have queen 7 suited. It's just barely in my range. Okay, so queen 7 suited. What types of hands types of betting strategy should I be employing here? So on this board, yeah, I don't have any big bets at all, which makes sense. I'm gonna be betting small a lot with hands like my overpairs, especially as I get more vulnerable. My value hands. My flush draws really like betting, especially when they have some straight cards that sort of block some continues, but also are some backdoor options. Okay, I like betting all my pairs. Am I betting on my fives? I don't really have that many fives. But no, I prefer to bet my fives that have the backdoor flush draw, otherwise just checking. Unless I have the front door flush draw, okay. Okay, so queen seven suited could be a mix. I should be checking with the spades, but we're going to, oh, we get check raised. Okay, interesting. So in equilibrium, queen seven is sometimes a flop three bet, especially when we don't have the back door. But we do elect to call as played, and the turn is the four of spades. So then he leads huge. Types of hands should he be leading huge with? Not many. All right, so I'm just going to fold here. All right. He's queen off. I open under the gun and I get called by the hijack and by the butt. Okay, I'm going to be betting really selectively on this board. Okay, I must be just done with this hand at this point. types of hands would he be betting out for about half pot here with? Sets, 2-pair, flushes, and flush draws. Okay, so he's probably calling with a similar range of hands, sets, 2-pair, and flush draws, and flushes. He might be, yeah. Okay, for that sizing on that, the 8 of clubs. Oh, man. Seems like at this point, he should really just have flushes. Maybe a hand like 10 jack with a spade, but seems like he should mostly have flushes. Flushes, full houses. And then maybe like some good flush draws still. And he's a little bit more capped, right? So I suppose he could have some 8x. Could have some 9x, like queen 9 with queen of spades or something like that. He's at a under half pot size bet here on the river. But this, like, he's basically repping. I guess it's just basically, he's just repping a flush, really, right? I think a full house would be just choosing a larger sizing. Small flush. Top pair. All right, this is probably one of the worst hands. One of the worst aces I'm opening under the gun. On this board, there's certainly a lot of 9x, and they both have 9x in their range. 9-10, 8-9 suited, and then I don't have a diamond, so I think I should be c-betting pretty selectively here, even though it is a paired board. Yeah, I just think this hand doesn't make the cut. Okay, and then I check and cutoff just bets pot basically on this board. I could see him doing this a hand like 6s, 7s, 8s. Any 9x, yeah. 10s, yeah, I might expect him to 3-bet 10s, jacks, those types of hands. And then, like, I suppose you could be doing this with some diamond draws. But I do like just giving up here. Boat, bottom boat. Yeah, he should be choosing a large sizing there, right? He's unblocking the 9s. Right, I ISO with ace jack suited against the short stack. And I go 3 ways to the flop. All right, this is interesting. All right, this is not a great flop for top pair, top kicker. However, I do have the backdoor flush, try to go with it as well. And with this shorter stack here, kind of is an interesting dynamic. On one hand, yeah, I think this hand's just a check. I think it's a little too thin to see bet in a 4-way pot. 7 rolls out and we get a pot-sized bet. That player's all in, and I just fold. I think, I like this fold. Hands like 9-8, Jack-8, 10-8, King-Queen, Queen-Jack, Jack-10, Jack-9. I mean, there's just like so many 2-pair combos, so many straight combos. Yeah, I think Ace-Jack's pretty easy fold at this point. Yeah. Case wide open, Ace-8 suited. Queen 6-4. It's really dry board. We do a shorter stack here on the button. Do the backdoor flush draw. Do a backdoor straight draw. But Ace-8 is like almost always like one of those hands that you just check when you miss. But with the backdoor flush draw, there's probably some merit to betting small here. Okay, what we do, let's check. It checks through. Okay, so when button checks behind, like I'm not expecting button to check behind with very many strong hands. And player 2. Sorry. When player 2 checks twice, I also don't think he has many strong hands. There's potential that like we're just good here. Well, we're probably not just good here, but like both their ranges are super capped. This pot could probably be won by betting large twice, but I'm not sure that's really what we want to do here. Like there's a possibility that Ace-X is there, that Ace-High is good. Slim, but I mean, both players could have a hand like King-Jack, 10-Jack, those types of hands. And then I think the 9 just gives, like the 9 of hearts in particular, just gives a lot of unmade hands, a lot of continues on a turn. So like I don't think we have all that much fold equity. Plus like yeah, we just like if we get called, we just like we're basically bluffing with 0 equity. Like if we're bluffing this hand, like what aren't we bluffing? So I'm hoping we just check here. Okay. King of clubs rolls off. So very easily, King could have made a pair for either of these guys. Again, I just don't think we have very much fold equity, especially after checking twice. We don't really have. Okay, what types of hands, if any, would want to bluff here? Like, we would want to block King X, which we just can't really do on this board without having some piece of it. With that line we took, like I just don't think we really want to have any bluffs on this board with this run out, with that action. But Mets too. You could definitely be doing that with the king. Could be doing that with a hand like, yeah, I guess just like with the king. Maybe I don't foresee him like. I don't think he's ever checking back a queen. Like, kind of just feels like it has to be King X here. But it could be like a hand like a total airball. That's why he's betting King X. All right, I open 9. It's called by the big blind. Alright, he checks to me here. I think I like a small bet with this part of my range. If I had a hand that was a bit less vulnerable, more stable, kings or queens, like I think I like checking behind. Yeah, but I think with nines are just a bit too vulnerable to check behind. So I think I like a small bet on this board. It's rainbow. I think about a third pot size bet makes sense. Okay, and he just calls. So when he just calls my small C bet, like he's pretty capped. He could have a hand like a bad ace, could have a hand like, oof, yeah, what else? What could he have here? 8x, maybe? Could have a hand like 6-7 suited. Maybe he has some back doors. But really, like, feels like maybe he just has like a weaker ace, middling ace type hand. Again, a 10 of hearts. Now my hand's value, I think, is just like, is a 10 of hearts? Like what continues does he have that has a 10? Maybe like 8-10, maybe like 9-10. Obviously I block 9-10 a little bit. I suppose he could be continuing the hand like king queen. Yeah, that would make sense, right? King queen's probably continuing on this board for a small pot size bet. So a hand like a Broadway hand, king 10 maybe is continuing. So yeah, I mean, overall, I think at this point, like I like checking. I don't think there's much value in betting. I don't think he's ever getting better to fold. I don't think I'm getting value from worse. Yeah, I do have some semblance of showdown value. Okay, the queen comes. This is another, I mean, at this point, like this run out is pretty good for my range in general. Not great for my hand. Although I suspect maybe he would have bet a hand like ace X by now. So I don't think he really has ace X. I think that's discounted. And like, what's a hand that continues on the flop that doesn't have an ace? That would be like 8x. So maybe you would have a hand like 7-8. He still could have 6-7. You could have a hand like 8-9. Or you could have 7s, 6s, something like that. But yeah, again, like betting here, he's never folding better. And he's just always folding worse. So checking back seems like the right move. And he does have a weak ace, so GG. Okay, open fives get called the big blind. This board is not bad for my open range on the button, but well, it's actually good for my open range on the button, right? But it also gives big blind plenty of opportunity to catch up. So I need to be betting fairly selectively on this board. Fives to 5 of hearts. I could see this maybe being a bluff on this board. I think this board's just not quite high enough. Like if it was king, jack, queen, I think fives makes a better bluff. But that's good news. Okay, so he does stab the turn. He could be doing this hand like he could be doing this with like queen 10. Of course he has like king 10, 8-10 suited maybe, but queen jack, queen 9, jack 9, jack 10. There's a ton of hands that he can have that we beat that are calling a raise. Flush draws, pair plus straight draws, etc. So I really like raising here, I think. I do go ahead and raise. I guess after checking the flop and then I raise the turn, like that might look a little bit nutted. So maybe I don't expect to get much action. I don't know if queen, like, are two, like is jack 9 calling me here? I'm not sure. Maybe it's better to just call and then raise the river. But I mean, the river could just be an action killing card. And you just fold. Yeah, I think I like raising. Yeah, I like raising here. If he does have a hand like queen 10 or a flush draw or whatever, like I want to get money from his draws before they brick. And like, I don't think I'm getting, I mean, if he's bluffing, like, I don't know. Is he gonna bluff again? Like, depend, like, what's the run out going to be? Yeah, I think I just like raising and just doesn't matter they didn't continue. Okay, ace 10. Ace of hearts, sure, seems fine. Oh, heads up. Right opening's going to get caught by the button. There's a shorter stack. Flop top pair. Super dry board. Against the short stack, how do we get the money? Got a backdoor flush draw as well. Against the stack size, like I think checking gives a larger opportunity for him to just sort of punt. So I hope I check here. Okay, I do. He does bet. And okay. Yeah, I think I just like calling. I think what I was probably thinking in game here was if I call, then he needs to check back the turn. The turn could go check if I just call here. But if I do just call here and the turn does go check, like the pot will be almost $7 and he has 950 left. So the turn going check is not a huge deal. So interesting. I guess I don't mind the raise if he stacks off, but like what hands do I expect him to stack off with here? 10 jack, king queen. Obviously like queen 9, but it's not all that. Yeah, it's just like king queen, 10 jack. That's really it. All right,